Today, the third and final installment in Margaret Ryan's look at the nuclear renaissance taking place in this country with an in-depth look at Southern Company's plans for 2 new units at its Vogtle plant in Georgia. Southern is working with federal and state governments and regulators to prepare this $14 billion project. Today's View, what Vogtle means for its neighbors.
When George Washington stopped in Waynesboro, Georgia during his first term in office, it had 8 houses. In the decades since, the county seat of Burke County has grown, but it's still largely agricultural. Like so many rural towns, it's proud of its heritage, making sure the town budget still pays the gas bill for the eternal flame on its war memorial, even as the area struggles with nearly 11% unemployment. But it has one difference: Southern Company's Vogtle nuclear plant. Waynesboro Mayor George DeLoach remembers when the company announced it was building a nuclear station here on the Savannah River back in 1969.
We were looking for industry and for jobs. The Unit 1 and 2 that were built, I think at the peak, was around 13,000 to 14,000 people were finishing the plant. So with that many people coming into our community, needing housing and supplying sales tax dollars and income, we welcomed it.
Pastor Charles Utley was still a student then.
Oh yes, it was a booming time. It was like going to a gold rush, and everyone had an opportunity.
But Utley says, like all booms, it ended. Once the plant was built, the work dried up and the town shrank back. Flash forward 20 years. Burke County has fewer than 23,000 people, a median household income of $33,000, and 22% living below the poverty line. The Vogtle site is being readied for 2 more reactors. How is the community reacting this time? That depends on who you ask.
With the high unemployment that we have now and the economy the way it is, we just feel like those jobs that are coming down the road, 3,500 to 4,000, it's just God sent to this small community.
The community now is wiser because they realize that after expanding the plant, then what would be the end result? The end result would be just as it was with 1 and 2. We just don't need 3 and 4. Enough is enough.
Utley is one of few speaking out against the plant expansion. Vogtle paid $22 million in property taxes to Burke County last year alone. But DeLoach says it's Southern's operating record, not the money, that gained it local acceptance.
Through operation of 1 and 2, it has been no one's been harmed by nuclear power or an accident.
But Utley says he has come to believe Vogtle has negative health impacts, especially combined with DOE's Savannah River nuclear defense facility just across the river from the plant.
When I found out that the amount of water that was being pumped out of the rivers and the amount of contamination that it was being put in the air, the amount of death and related diseases from contamination. And one thing about contamination, you can't see it for the most part, but it shows up in the human body.
It was water that brought in another opponent, Savannah Riverkeeper Executive Director Tonya Bonitatibus. Her grandfather worked on building Vogtle 1 and 2. But she fears the water needed for the new cooling towers will harm a river already under siege from pollution.
It's projected in 2050 that the area's population will have almost doubled and our water usage will have almost doubled. And at this point in time, the river is already qualifies as the 4th most toxic in the nation. So what happens in 40 years, when we've doubled our population, we've doubled our usage of water?
Stan Wise of the Georgia Public Service Commission agrees that water is an issue, but one that's already been resolved.
All the state agencies that have reviewed this, water issues were reviewed away from the Public Service Commission. The Environmental Protection Division looked at that, and it was something that they've all passed and given their seal of approval to.
Regulators have already agreed to let the new unit's cooling towers evaporate about 90 million gallons daily, or 1% of the river's average daily flow.
Yes, 1% can be and should be considered a serious issue, but it's not as much as some would have you believe that it is.
The Nuclear Regulatory Commission is holding local public meetings to update citizens on the licensing and to hear their concerns. Dave Matthews, head of NRC's Division of New Reactors, has led many of the meetings. He says issues like water usage, while real, aren't part of NRC's licensing decision, but he listens. What has he heard overall?
I'd say the local community response is favorable, okay? Again, that doesn't mean that we don't have people who are concerned and have raised those concerns.
I don't see where they're really making a huge impact on the decisions. It's always, we're moving forward. And I think if you were really listening to the people, you would back up and say, well, let's look at exactly what is being imposed on them.
One big concern opponents raise, the Westinghouse design proposed for Vogtle. It's still being certified by NRC, but opponents say they know it's flawed.
It's an inferior product that you're talking about building in the beginning, so I can't see it being safe. So my idea is to scrap it, put it back on the board another time, but not at this present time, because we don't need nuclear power.
Bonatatibus thinks there are alternatives.
We do have solar, we do have wind power that are available, and they're becoming more economically viable every day.
Georgia officials say those aren't real options for 24/7 power. Neither Bonatatibus nor Utley see their voices as stopping the expansion. But Bonatatibus says she'll fight for more river protection, and Utley wants NRC to tell people what he sees as the real risks.
Tell the truth. Tell them what the exposure is going to be, and also monitor their health. Put the health back on the table, but there should be something in place for the residents.
The town's mostly peaceable acceptance of nuclear hasn't gone unnoticed.
We've known all along that the local community was supportive of the new construction of the projects. Yes, they've recognized the benefit that they've received in the last 30 years from Vogtles 1 and 2.
And this month, the State Department sent Mayor DeLoach to Italy for a conference on reviving nuclear power there. The mayor's topic, gaining local public acceptance. In Washington, I'm Margaret Ryan, Clean Skies News.